Pokémon Legends Arceus, a game that promised to expand the series beyond the simple boundaries it's been following ever since Pokémon Red and Blue. The question is, how well does the game live up to this promise? I have been anticipating this game back since its original announcement. An open world Pokémon game sounded great. Finally we can have an experience closer to the anime, right? Obviously, Legends Arceus was a bit of a surprise, coming out so soon after the Diamond and Pearl remakes. Speaking of, I was not too interested in those remakes once we discovered they were basically one-to-one 3D versions of Diamond and not Platinum. I can safely say I do not regret my choice of skipping them. Whilst I had numerous problems with Pokémon Sword and Shield, my favourite aspect of those games was the wild area. The ability to collect items, pick from a wide pool of Pokémon, and challenge bosses was all very appealing to me, and where I spent most of my playtime. That said, it was rather feature incomplete. There was practically nothing to do beyond those things, and the Pokémon themselves suffered from terrible draw distance, as well as mostly just idling in one spot forever. For those reasons, I was interested to see if Legends Arceus would be able to excel in those areas Sword and Shield lacked, whilst also transforming the game into an open world experience. Whilst not a traditional remake, this more ambitious take is a better reason to return to Sinnoh for me. Personally, I find that the traditional Pokémon formula has grown rather stale these days. Attempts were made to break it up, but the differences were mainly narratively. Gameplay wise, it has always been beat 8 bosses, beat Elite Four, beat Evil Team, minimal story, the end. That said, it is entirely likely the main reason I feel tired of the Pokémon formula is simply because the recent games haven't been so great. Either way, my mindset going into Legends Arceus was pretty positive. I wasn't sure if I would like it, but I was willing to give it a chance. So, how was it? To be honest, it's been pretty good so far. As the title says, I've not beaten the game yet. Consider this video my not so early impressions of the game rather than a full review. Spoilers will be kept to a minimum, but for one, there is not much story to spoil, and secondly, I will be showing areas and events, so if you want to go in blind, you should probably leave now. I've just made it into the 4th area of the game, the mountain one, but I have barely explored it so far. The graphical quality of Pokémon games is something that is always critiqued with increasing frequency during recent years, and for good reason. Pokémon Legends Arceus runs on the Nintendo Switch, which has beautiful games like Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild. It doesn't take a genius to tell you that both of those games are clearly visually superior to Legends Arceus. A more interesting comparison can be made with the other 2 Switch Pokémon games. Let's Go Pikachu, funnily enough, has the best visuals despite being the first one released. The colours pop, the shading is well done, and the character models are high quality. Of course, it also has a somewhat chibi art style, but if you give it the more anime look of other games, it would still look good. Legends Arceus looks a lot like Sword and Shield, which whilst disappointing is hardly a surprise given how soon it's been released. Quick interjection from the future, after looking at some Pokémon Sword footage, I realised that Legends Arceus does in fact look considerably better than that game did, so I just wanted to clear that up. Back to the normal video. From a presentation standpoint though, Legends Arceus blows Sword and Shield out of the water. We have far more animations being used as well as better character expressions. That said, Legends Arceus still suffers. Whilst there are more animations, the game still relies upon recycling them too much, making them lose their novelty pretty fast. Despite how the rest of the game functions, in cutscenes, characters still move about as if they were on a grid in cardinal directions and stopping in order to turn. Additionally, the game will suffer very noticeable dips in resolution if you stand in an area with a lot going on. I say a lot, but actually it seems pretty inconsistent on what lowers the visuals. The main village seems to always drop resolution when looking at the buildings, and water absolutely affects the game. At least one improvement was made in Legends Arceus though, and that would be its draw distance. Sword and Shield had such a terrible draw distance that resulted in being unable to see Pokemon further than 3 meters away. This game still will not show you a Pokemon on a distant hill, but it can show you more of them for slightly longer distances, all without dropping frame rate. This game uses a technique where if a Pokemon is just in view, it will run at a lower frame rate to maintain the player's frame rate. I do not think I suffered a single frame drop yet, so this is a job well done. Unfortunately, the game's narrative doesn't hold up so well either, from what I've seen at least. There is not a strong goal or quest to pursue over the course of the game, nor are there multiple smaller but interesting quest lines with dynamic characters. Instead, you play as someone who is dropped into the world of Pokemon from the modern day into the far past. PokeGod upgrades your phone and tells you to respond to his emails. That is basically it for the setup. Of course, you end up meeting and joining a group of characters under the Galaxy Expedition team who send you on a Monster of the Week main quest that seems to slowly focus more on space-time distortion that brought you to them. Aside from seeing some of the Pokemon characters' ancestors, there's not anything truly stand out about this game's story. It is still unfortunately presented through mostly static dialogue-heavy cutscenes, which, as I mentioned before, reuse animations and also fade to black way too often. Considering we are in ancient Sinnoh, you would have hoped to see a lot of world building. Sadly, we only get a little bit, mostly in the form of 2 clans that existed before the Galaxy team arrived. Through them, we learn that they both worship Arceus, but perceive him to either be Dialga or Palkia. We also learn that bloodlines of Pokemon descended from Arceus' disciples are still around and are thusly far stronger than Pokemon we may be familiar from with the modern day. Other than that though, it's just lackluster. The new characters may have a personality trait, but they are very predictable and have arcs that either don't change them much or at all. Basically, if you're big on story or lore, this game isn't for you. Your character shows people smartphones and all they can say is, neat, despite being years ahead of its time. Legends Arceus doesn't really take itself too seriously and it makes that quite clear. As a result, I considered the story as something that's just there. Maybe it will get better later. Also, apparently you're gated from progressing the game if you don't have enough Pokédex points, but that has never happened to me. As for the gameplay itself, the first few hours of the game are also frustratingly slow due to how often you're interrupted by hand-holdy cutscenes over and over. Once the game actually lets you roam free though, that's when you have something good in your hands. For a start, the world is always in full 3D motion, as in you're not on a grid. In addition, the character is always third person and can be moved freely by you at all times. This is an excellent change and one that should become series standard from this point onwards. It should have been a series standard long ago in truth. Exploring the open areas has been pretty enjoyable for me. I've taken the approach of trying to catch as many Pokemon as I can before moving on. I don't ever go to the point of boredom, mind you, but the areas are large enough to where they each have multiple mini areas within them. From what I can gather, I believe this game has 5 main areas in total. The 3 I've explored so far were decently sized. In terms of things to do in the open areas though, this may become a problem for some players. Aside from the Pokemon themselves, all there is to do is explore, gather resources, and complete side quests. The side quests in this game are painfully mediocre. I only really do them if they unlock a feature or are directly on my path. Resource gathering and sequentially crafting is fine. Resources are in abundance and you are soon able to craft on the go. I just wish there were more things to make. What has to be one of the best aspects of the overworld though are the events known as space-time distortions. You will receive notifications about when one is forming, and if you manage to make it over in time, the area will become dark and distorted. Not only is it an atmospheric feature, it also provides you with rare Pokemon and item drops. If you haven't mastered the game's mechanics, you may find these areas a little challenging, however the rewards are worth it. This feature would be even better though if they allowed Pokemon from newer games to have a low chance to spawn here, for variety's sake. I do like how modern Pokemon like Porygon can only be found in these space-time rifts. If you're down for catching Pokemon though, this game has plenty to offer you. Pokemon capture is the most engaging in Legends Arceus than it has ever been in a mainline title. The standard Pokeball operates as you would expect. However, if you're not in battle, you are now able to freely aim and throw the Pokeball. Doing so allows you to capture multiple Pokemon in rapid succession. It also allowed for more depth to be added. Whilst there are still items like the Great Ball that are flat out better, there are also other types of Pokeballs in how they are used. Heavy-based Pokeballs don't go far, but they're way more effective if they land. Light-based Pokeballs travel really far before falling. Both are surprisingly difficult to use, but satisfying when mastered. Combine that with how different Pokemon actually exhibit a variety of behaviours in this game, and the way you catch the species will likely differ greatly. Some Pokemon are docile and will tolerate you, even walk up to you like my pals Feel. Some will flee from you, some will attack you, which requires the player to dodge their attacks like an action game. There are also specific examples, like how at night the Luxray family's X-ray eyes activate and will see you even if you hide. Oh yeah, hiding. Stealthing in tall grass can help you lose aggressive Pokemon or position for a capture. Throwing a ball at a Pokemon's back causes a critical capture, so go for it if you can. Utility items like a smokescreen or berries to bait Pokemon can also help you plan your captures. Being able to craft these tools in the field really helps with the flow of the game. Your Pokemon really feel like part of your team in this game. You can send them out casually to interact with NPCs, each other, or with you. It isn't very deep, unfortunately, but it's nice all the same. Also, you send your Pokemon out to collect items in the overworld, meaning you end up working with them outside of battle quite frequently. They do not follow you about, to my dismay, but I feel like this was done to help the game run, as sometimes your buddies will drop the resolution. We've talked a lot about Pokemon, but not a lot about battling them. I guess you could call that foreshadowing, but let's quickly go over how combat works now. Normal Pokemon operated on round-based combat, where a round was made up of turns of each Pokemon. Both sides would lock in their moves at the start of the round, then they would have to watch the results. In Pokemon Legends Arceus, it's turn to turn, so every time your Pokemon gets to make an action, you can evaluate the battlefield. The reason for this change is due to how battles now can allow Pokemon to take multiple turns in a row, as well as allowing multiple enemy Pokemon. To accommodate for the variance, a change to the rules was needed. Part of the cause behind the turn changes are the new strong and agile style move options. Basically, as a Pokemon levels up, on top of learning new moves, they may master old ones. Once a move is mastered, you can either make it quicker but weaker, or make it stronger with better accuracy and effects, but reduced turns. Both of these cost extra move usage, and sometimes it's best to use neither. These are usable by all Pokemon and are pretty handy, however the game has a nasty habit of not telling you when a wild Pokemon takes advantage of these styles. If you find way weaker Pokemon giving you trouble, this will be why. Whilst only a light touch, I enjoyed how the player is free to move about during a battle. You'll even stagger if you get too close to a Pokemon attack. Moments like that help the game world feel more alive. The Pokemon themselves will also reposition about. When they attack, the animations to close the distance look way better than the initial trailer suggested they would be. I've not ever been put off by the battle animations in this game, and some of them look pretty cool. Pokemon learn less moves in this game to what we're used to. In fact, it feels like there are less moves in general, but more than Gen 1, so this is not supposed to be a negative. Instead, the moves your Pokemon do learn tend to be useful, and are given variety through their styles. A great quality of life addition is that your Pokemon can have their moves swapped and remembered at any time, anywhere, and for free. This is yet another way the game makes the player more free, as is move tutoring. Now you can just spend money rather than grinding limited resources. With there being less status effects, moves, and no more Pokemon abilities, The battle system is a bit more streamlined in this game. It was quickly apparent that combat was not the main gameplay loop for this game, so I didn't find it as overly offensive. There are not many mandatory battles in this game either. The main focus is clearly on capturing Pokémon. With that in mind, having the alpha Pokémon around was a good choice. Larger, tougher Pokémon that can deliver big rewards or even be captured. The best part is how alpha Pokémon retain their size and may even know rare moves when caught. This feature is not limited to alpha Pokes though. The size difference from Let's Go returns, except now Pokémon models actually represent those differences. So, do I recommend Pokémon Legends Arceus? Yeah, I think I do. If you want the same experience we always get from Pokémon, you probably will not enjoy this game. It takes a few leaps in new directions and changes things that have never been changed, but that is exactly why I like it. We finally are getting to try something new. Now, it still has a ways to go before I would confidently call the gameplay excellent, but it is good if you're looking for a more relaxed adventure. The capturing and quality of life improvements have been well appreciated, and whilst the story and quests have been rather meh, I'm hoping the rest of the game will only get better. As for how often I would return to the game after beating it, that's up in the air right now, and I won't really know until I have finished. All in all though, Pokémon Legends Arceus has been pleasantly fun. Thank you for watching my first impressions of Pokémon Legends Arceus all the way to the end. I know the game is still new, so you may not have all gotten around to playing it yet. Let me know in the comments if you agreed with what I had to say, or if you're planning on trying out the game for yourself. That will be all out of me this time though. I hope you have a good day and see you next time. This is the Mighty Emperor, signing off.